Good night, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Lewwe Chat. We are here for our seventh episode. I'm so glad to have Tiana with me again and a new face, Sophia Griffith. Good night, guys. How y'all doing? Just want to say good night to everyone who was tuned in. Remember, this episode is a call-in episode, so you can call in by using the link below. Hope everyone's doing good tonight. We're going to be talking about the office and mental health. Now, I know a lot of us have been pumped for this discussion, right? So, we first want to get into what unhealthy um, work environment would look like. But before we do, Sophie, Tiana, how y'all doing tonight?
I'm good.
Good, 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 good. Y'all excited about the new protocols?
Oh, wait, I didn't even know there were new protocols.
Yeah, there are new protocols, and I'm quite excited.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I hope everyone is doing good. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the office and mental health. Now, what does an unhealthy work environment look like? And you guys can answer. What does an unhealthy work environment look like to you, Tiana?
For me, an unhealthy work environment is basically you waking up, being excited about your day, you go into an environment and it's just pure chaos. You can't function, you're unhappy, you're depressed, and that's to me an unhealthy work environment. I think when you go into a space, a new environment, it should be peaceful. And if it isn't peaceful, well, it's an unhealthy working environment.
So,
Agree.
what about you, Sophie?
I believe that any like a work environment that is not conducive to my mental health is not an environment for me to be in. Where you could, whether it is sexual harassment, whether it is like a communication in the workplace, yeah, anything that's not conducive to your mental health is not a good work environment to be in.
It's true, and that's interesting because a lot of us know that, but do we actually ever take any action against that? And we can really get into that tonight. Mario is saying morning. I don't know what time zone he's in, but morning to you too. Thanks for joining. But yeah, an unhealthy work environment, I mean, is clearly a significant source of stress, both the employees and the employers, to be quite honest. And apart from the professional impact, there's also a personal and psychological impact. Yeah. So there are several factors which will contribute to an unhealthy work environment. So you have things like deadlines and the workload and job security, different co-worker personalities, management styles. So all of these things are possible stressors. So yeah, so you guys can let us know what are some things that you would see in an unhealthy work environment. Like why would we be calling it that? And yeah, so right now I actually just want to go and present the poll. So we would ask the question: do you currently work in an unhealthy work environment? No, just over 30 people said yes, and I was surprised at this poll. So this is good that the majority of people don't work in unhealthy work environments. Yeah, so 60% said that they don't. So I found that to be good. So you guys in the comments can let us know. Do you not? Good night, Roy Dan, VFM BVA. Huge shout out to BVA. So, Tiana, Sophie, have you ever worked in a unhealthy work environment, toxic work environment, as we would say nowadays?
Very
Yep.
much so.
Okay, very much so. Okay, and why would you say it was toxic or unhealthy?
For me, I guess it all comes down to attitudes.
Hmm.
Um, we know that there will be a lot of people who may not think like this. There are different personalities, and I find as though along the way, these certain personalities could be conflicted, and it
Hmm.
is for us to actually agree to come on a common ground, as Sophie said, in terms of communication. A lot of the time, more than likely, people are not open to it. I guess because then it depends on the nature of the conversation and then how heated it can get. So it could go north or it can go south. All depends on the topic.
Yeah. For me, I've worked in an environment where it was no communication or lack of communication. I've worked in a place where the boss didn't want to talk to me because they was mad at me for something. Like, um, and one of the fears that comes out of something is like this is like that you're in an unhealthy work environment, but it's like okay, I need this job, I need this money. So sometimes it's hard to speak up and say, well, listen, this ain't right, that, because you don't have nothing to fall back on sometimes, you know. But
Right. Right. And I think I believe that's one of the major problems because and it's funny because you would have a group of people who believe that the work environment is toxic and they wouldn't do anything about it because everybody's afraid of losing their job.
mm-hmm,
So then it's so bad because you just leave that environment when you move on. I mean, you get out the department or your job or the company or whatever. When you move on, you just leave that same environment for someone else to enter. So it's so destructive. So people like to speak up when they know it's their security, and that's not how it should be all the time. I believe that somebody has to do something for some kind of change to happen at some
Mhm.
point in time. Because if no one says anything, nothing will change. Literally, nothing will change. So the persons who are causing you stress will continue to cause you stress. And the other thing is, people don't like to look like snitches. They don't like to say, "Oh, this person doing that, this person doing this." I personally, I can't deal with unhealthy working environments. I have been in a few situations where I've experienced it, and I just didn't like it at all. Good night, Brad. Thank you for joining. So yeah, so you mentioned the communication. How there was no communication
mm-hmm,
between you and your boss, and
mm-hmm,
you said because you did something that made them upset. But funny enough, there are actually situations where there's no communication between the employee and the employer because they don't have that relationship. And
mm-hmm,
it's not that we look for our employers to be friends with us. I mean, that's not what we apply for a job for, not to make friends. But you have to show. I mean, I've never been a manager, but you have to show that you care about your employees, to the extent of being a mentor professionally to guide them through their work, to make sure they're comfortable in their work environment so that they can grow.
mm-hmm,
Because the better your employees function, the better it will reflect on you as a manager. So it's a win-win, right? So yeah, good night, Timothy. Thank you for joining. So yeah, I believe that communication definitely needs to be there. Um, it definitely needs to be there. It definitely needs to be there.
And also, Glenn, touching on to something that you said
Mhm.
about fear and fear of losing your job, but
mm-hmm,
Right.
sometimes too, it could be fear of, I guess, being fired too. This is how I look at it too. It's like, I guess sometimes people want you to or analyze your stress levels and I guess expect you to like suck it up sometimes.
mm-hmm,
So it all boils down to okay, maybe you're being watched with your stress levels and um I guess they may pick on that and then trigger you to I guess perhaps push you to lose your job or being fired. I guess sometimes
Mhm.
these situations do happen. So I don't know. It all depends.
mm-hmm.
That's fair. That's fair. And yeah,
Yes.
you guys know how we do it. We like to know what the problem is, why the problem is there, and how we can battle against that problem. Yeah, so we're going to get to what a healthy work environment looks like. So just hold tight. But yeah, and then there's the whole this micromanagement and the favoritism coming
Mm-hmm,
from the bosses. So that's another thing that employees face. So when there's that micromanagement, I mean, how much can I say that can secure my job? But no, but seriously. it is an issue, and I believe it is an issue because I don't know what the entire process is when it goes through choosing someone to manage a team, but I believe that should be a very serious process because they're not just managing a process or some papers or some reports, they're managing people. And if you're not a person who can get along with people, who can understand people, who care about people, then you would have a serious breakdown within your department. And, people will start to form cliques, and then there will just be so much strain on the relationships in that department. So, yeah, that is what kind of sums up poor management for me. And there's also the favoritism. So again, the friends thing. So I don't know why it would occur, but
Mm.
you can't deny that there's favoritism when it comes to being in a workplace, and you might favor someone more than the other person for whatever reason. So then it just makes the other employees see it, and they're not blind to it. So
Mm.
that really limits how they communicate with the same manager, the same supervisor, the same director, right? So they can see that manager is favoring a certain person, and then what is going to happen there is that you're going to damage the relationship between the employees
Yeah.
because they're going to say, okay, well, my manager like to talk to Lisa more. They will share more information. They will give them more opportunities to train, more opportunities to get other roles. They will pour more into them and that kind of stuff. And for different reasons, sometimes very petty reasons, but it's something that happens and it's very dangerous. So yes, anyone who's listening, you all can let us know if you've experienced any of this and how you might have overcome it. Yeah. So
Actually, I've been in a situation where I have been the person that was being favoritized,
mm,
and it was very uncomfortable because it's not that you wanted to be that person. It just,
right,
it just happened.
right.
And I remember when I first started working that job, my boss had said to me, "Don't make friends with anybody in here." And I was like, "Huh?" She said, "Don't make friends with nobody. This is not Caribbean. This is the U.S. Don't do that." And I was just like very confused as to why you're already putting that block for me not to be able to like build relationships with people in what I'm doing. So for me, that was a weird experience because then it's only after when I
Mm,
really like decided, you know what, this makes no sense. I can't be working with colleagues and I can't build a relationship with colleagues that I'm working with. This How are we supposed to work if we can't communicate and simple things? So when I decided not to listen to that and decided to make friends with my colleagues, then they told me they honestly saw how I was the one being favoritized and I had just gotten there, but she would tell me more
ooh,
and stuff. And I was like,
right,
shoot. So they thought that they didn't really used to talk to me really because
right.
when that time come, they used to separate themselves from me because they thought that I was going to run back to her and tell her something or, so it was one of those
Yeah,
situations. And it was only after all that I learned that how the whole favoritism works and me being in a position where I was the person being favoritized, how it
mm,
affected my workplace and the other people that I was working with. And it's only after when we really had this discussion, I was like, well, that is just definitely not the case. Like, that's not it. I'm willing to work with you guys and learn. And what the case is when the environment became so much better because in case of me, instead of me feeling like I'm walking on eggshells, no, it's like, okay, we all on the same page now. So things can now flow a little better.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, it's true. Just want to highlight a comment here quickly from Mario. Mario said people feel forced to choose between an unhealthy work environment and being jobless. We feel that speaking out or standing up means we are risking losing our source of income. Yeah.
Very
And he
true.
says that tells me that we tend to see our job and everything around it negatively because we see the risk of losing our job or being reprimanded, but we don't see the potential of changing it for better.
Mm-hmm.
Chrissy is saying it doesn't get better.
Actually, yeah.
But yeah, Yeah, Tiana, have you had any experience with favoritism um, within your
I
work?
wanna I wanna say so really, but I guess I've seen it around, I guess, with my other coworkers, how
Right.
people felt about the situation. Obviously, they didn't like it
Mm-hmm.
because when we go into an establishment, the goal should be everybody should be treated equally.
Right.
Um, so I guess from hearing certain stuff, I guess I understood what they were coming from. Me, no, I really didn't really care about it. However, at the end of the day, I had my job to do. I came, I
Mm-hmm.
did what I was supposed to do, and I left. But at the end of the day, I saw how it was affecting my coworkers. Because no one likes that. Um,
Yeah.
I guess
Yes.
you putting in like 110%, and the other
Mm-hmm.
person that getting favorites putting in 50. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what are they doing that I clearly am not doing? So, that's what I've seen.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Um, when Sophie was speaking, I realized that I think I might be in person's eyes favoritized because I mean I literally just used to do my work. I was just focused on literally when I started, but when I first started working, I just wanted to learn everything. So I used to ask managers and supervisors above me, what does this do? What these even if it wasn't my something for me to do, because I know in an organization everything would connect and everything leads to from one place to the next. I just wanted the knowledge, so I was just asking questions. So
Mm,
seemed to be impressed by that. So then they would let me know, and I would just use that knowledge, try to put it into practice, and get things done. So that
mm,
was literally just me thinking. I wasn't doing it to impress anybody. I just wanted to keep my job. To be quite honest,
yeah.
um, I really just wanted to keep the job, and I just took that with me wherever I went, and I realized like I started to get opportunities that persons that were there before me did not get. And I had to ask myself, why am I getting these opportunities? I was generally confused. And then, persons would tell me, well, Glenn, you know, this person let you. So, this is why, you might get these opportunities and that stuff. So just be careful how you present yourself around the workplace. So, persons don't think that you are anyone's pet, right? So it's a very uncomfortable feeling, but to be quite honest, like especially when you're just doing your work just for doing your work because you have good work ethic, want to have good work ethic, it is extremely uncomfortable. And then there's your flip side where persons are just going the extra mile because they want to be recognized. I don't do that. I pay extra mile because I genuinely want to know more, and I'm genuinely interested in what I'm doing, and I look at it as in an overall perspective, because I think if I'm working in any organization, one, I'm grateful for my position because there are persons out there who applying left, right, and center for jobs and can't get a job. So
Yeah.
if I am in that position, if I'm getting an income, it might not be exactly or might not have been exactly what I wanted to do. I'm going to be grateful because I'm allowed to I'm getting money. I'm allowed to get more experience, that kind of stuff, and I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to put everything into that to ensure that I can grow, right? So it's really not about trying to impress anybody, but there's obviously that flip side. So,
Mm,
and that's where the danger comes when people try to frighten up superiors, because
Mm-hmm.
if your superior rubs you the wrong way, then the motivation for you for working hard is gone. And then when they see that decline in your work ethic, like there are gonna be issues. There definitely gonna be issues. So yeah. Tricia is saying do what you're supposed to do and leave because those
Mm-hmm.
workplaces are just toxic. Good night, Gregden. Gregden is saying, I think we need to appreciate that the working environment from a Caribbean context is more of a master and servant relationship. There are very few corporate entities that value employee relations.
No.
Well, we definitely have a lot to do then. Definitely have a lot to do. Just gonna move on to the office politics and the lack of confidentiality and a big thing, gossip in the workplace. So how does that really start? Like why does it even start? And we all know that it's not beneficial to your workplace because then it's just very damaging the person's well-being, the mental well-being, and to the productivity and the morale of the entire workforce. So, Tiana, have you had any experience? And guys in the comments, you can let us know if you have had any experience with gossiping in your workplace, that lack of confidentiality or business being shared and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
As you said, it basically starts with a morality person. Some things, I guess, we don't, I guess, necessarily feel out people enough. And it all comes to a trust level in terms of you being willing enough, really willing enough to trust this person. And then I guess it comes out where, um, you know, you do tell the person, then obviously your business are on the place. So I guess it, as I said, like it determines like if you can trust the person or you can't. I guess at that moment in time, you don't know until that information gets out. So I guess it does, as I said, determines on how well you trust the person or not, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Mm.
So, but you, so if you had any experience,
I mean, I don't really think so. I mean, I've gone into workplaces where people are, I was like the new facing and people would like tell me stuff. I'm just like, I've been here for all of a week. Why are you trying to tell me all of like what goes on in here? Like, you
oh
know.
boy,
But again, it goes back to knowing that you have different people in a workplace. There's bound to be some sort of somebody's not gonna like this person and somebody do something to somebody and everybody knick-knack it. It's bound to happen. You just have different people in the space, but I think the most important thing is, you come there, you get paid to do something, you do what you gotta do, and when fellow hot come head through that door. Really and true, you don't get paid for the gossip. So
it's true.
yeah.
It is true. It is true. What if it is a case where you've never heard anyone or anything getting back to you about you in your workplace either?
Not really, to be quite honest.
That's good. That's good.
Not really.
That is good. Because I definitely have. And I was quite surprised. But yeah, Timothy is saying my first experience in a toxic workplace had to have been when I was showing fantastic work ethic and was going the extra mile, putting in the work to be denied that promotion or raise due to my race. Ooh,
Mm.
mm, that,
Mm.
that
That's
that's
a very
crazy.
common one over here. Very common.
Yeah. Good night, Sharon. How are you doing? Thank you for joining. But yeah, in terms of the gossip, like it's damaging because especially if you're a very private person and you think that you can, share something with someone, and it doesn't have to be personal; it could just be work related. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally, so say for example, you're new on the job, receive your training, and you know, it's that time that where you just go on your own and you do your job on your own. There's no one to look over your shoulder, and you make a mistake, and you have to let the person who trained you know, okay, I made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big mistake. What happens? You know, and that person now goes and tell their colleagues that they're very close with. You believe Glenn and do this here and they affect that person and affect this and do that. And then that just starts a spiral and
Mhm.
you know they try to deliver that information to the manager in the most negative manner, you
Right.
know, to make it seem that you're not like you are incompetent of performing.
Mhm.
Um, so there's definitely a lot of that going on in a lot of workplaces.
Mhm.
Of how, you know, when I asked the question yesterday, a lot of persons do experience that. Um, so then when you make a mistake or something goes wrong, then you don't really want to tell anybody. So
Mhm.
you try to fix it on your own, and then you make more mistakes. So so like it's definitely an issue that like needs to be resolved, and I believe that's where the manager has to step in or the supervisor has to step in, because they have to know their employees well enough that if one employee comes to them telling them, you know, this person do this and you know, like, they should know what they're doing, da, 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 da. Like the manager should know, okay, let me find out what actually happened. It's a
Mhm.
mistake, working together, resolve, not, you know, trying to pinpoint this person is, you know, causing issues. You have to find out where the person is causing issues, because it might be that they're not comfortable or confident performing the role based on the training they have had. And if the persons you're putting to train that person was actually paying attention to that person's training and actually, you know, pouring into them and mentoring them through that process. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. Yeah. So Bragden is saying we need to make sure that you create separation between your personal and
Mhm.
professional relationships. All colleagues are not acquaintances. Do your job and keep your nose to the ground.
It's true.
Facts.
Yep. That's a big
Facts.
fact.
Yeah, Mario is saying so many workplace issues start because we take it personally and forget that we're all there to do a job. It's true. All
Yep.
there to do a job. Like, and it's one thing that goes wrong with all the time that your employees and not your coworkers and not your friends. And yeah, take it with a grain of salt, because you do develop friendships within the workplace. Yes, but you still have to
Mhm.
be very careful. Still have to be very careful, because you got to realize, especially if you're all on the same level, and obviously you want to, you know, no one wants to stay in the same position forever. Some people may want to, right? But you have to know or have the type of relationship that if your coworker slash friend gets a promotion, that you are happy for them and not salty, right? Um, so that's another thing too. When you make friends within the workplace, that those are just some values that you need to have.
Mhm.
Now, I just want to dive into the because there's another issue that stands out a lot in workplaces currently, and that's sexual harassment, and that's a big thing. Quick plug to our episode "Protect Our Girls." Go back and watch that on our YouTube channel. Yeah, but that is a huge thing in society today. So, ladies, do you know anyone who's have had any experience, or you know, any experience of your own that you feel comfortable sharing? Please feel free to. And anyone in the comments, if you can comment on that, you can let us know as well.
Yeah. Well, I'll start. I have seen it for myself, and I have been in those shoes as well. And I think too, it all goes back to fear and the whole question of losing your job. Should you speak out or should you not speak out? And I think it's more prevalent too in females,
Mm,
especially if you have persons who are probably single parents or just having general children on a whole. And I guess like speaking out may cause fear and cause some issues. So I guess that could be a factor as well.
mm,
Very true. Um, I guess. Well, I've been in an environment where I was working for somebody, um, and they started to make me feel very uncomfortable. But it was kind of one of those decisions where it's like, do I stay and try to protect myself at all costs because I know I need this money right now, or do I get up and say, you know what? my mental health is way more important than this, than to stick in something like that. Um, and sometimes that is a very hard decision to make. As we be, oh, it's very easy to say, oh, mental health comes first. When you in a bind and you know you need that job in that moment, sometimes that decision is way harder to make. But eventually, yes, I got out of the job and therefore I didn't have to deal with that anymore. But I've also been in something where I've had a colleague be very disrespectful and out of order. Um, and it wasn't a case I was afraid to speak up in this particular circumstance, but it was just one of those things where you couldn't believe how disrespectful the person was being. And then when they did it in front of other people, so now it wasn't just my word, it was their word as well as mine. So now it's like, okay, I don't feel like, I'm on it by myself. Because oftentimes when women speak up about issues like this, it's like, okay, is she lying? Is she exaggerating? Like, that's the first thing people want to say, instead of saying, well, let's find out what's actually happening. But because I had other people that saw what happened and were able to say, well, no, that was disrespectful, then it anchored into something where he was no longer working with us anymore. But yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Just want to highlight my Braden. Braden is saying enough is not said about the done to reputations due to the false allegations of sexual harassment. In our society, one is guilty until proven innocent. Is there enough accountability? Hmm.
Hmm.
False allegations. That's a serious thing. That's a serious thing.
I mean, granted that there are times that people are giving false allegations, which makes it very hard for people who are actually speaking and saying the truth.
Mm.
But I feel like oftentimes, like, a woman speaks up about sexual harassment, and the first thing somebody will ask is, "Oh, is she lying? Is she exaggerating?"
Right, right.
Instead of actually being able to sit and have a conversation and at least figure out what's going on before you go to defense of, okay, this clearly is not true. So
Mm.
yeah.
Sure. Tricia is saying agreed. Also, some like to play off as a joke, and
Yeah.
that's a disgusting thing with men. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, why make the comment and then laugh it off and just to make it seem so light when
Mm-hmm.
it's really, you know. I just want to go back to what Yanni was saying in terms of that fear of having to deal with the situation after you actually experience it. It's like, then what do we do to incite change? Because the way I think is like, we leave that environment, we leave that environment for someone else to come in and hopefully, you know, but we don't want to leave that environment for someone else to come in and they experience the same thing and then that cycle just continues.
Right.
So if we don't directly speak up, how do we incite that change, or you know or for that process to begin? In other words, where does it end?
Yeah. That's it right there.
And
Then the cycle continues.
it's also the question of also leaving it for somebody else too, and then possibly going into an environment that's way worse. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, should you deal with it now?
Mm,
So you will know how to handle it if it does arise, like in the next job, or so
yeah,
it's scary. Either way, it's scary.
that's
Mm-hmm.
true.
You just don't
It would
know.
be. That's understandable. And I like what you said about um, when you go into the new environment, it may be a worse environment, and that's not something that we often consider,
Yeah.
because we might get an opportunity. We're so excited about this new opportunity, but that environment is actually worse. The pay
Mm-hmm.
might be better, the benefits might be better, but everything else is just worse. And that is why I'm such a huge advocate for investing in whatever situation you're in now. Look, to use whatever resources you can use to better that environment before you let it just throw it away and just move on to the next, because you might just be hopping from one bad environment to the next. So look at what you can do to better your current environment. Put all the efforts that you can into that, so you can see at the end of the day, well, I've tried. And then, if nothing works, then I guess you can try it in this environment. if it still has those characteristics. And another thing that when you speak about men and women in workplace is the gender gap when it comes to pay. Now, I know it was a big thing for years about men being paid more than women. And when I was doing my research, apparently the median salary for men is roughly 18% higher than the median salary for women. And that figure represents a 1% improvement from 2020. So it's still a thing, it's still real. Like that was just a year ago, and men are still paid more than women. I don't know. It's funny because in my organization, the majority of the leaders, persons in management and the directorship roles are women, and I find that I like that because I mean is a good thing to have. And there's still quite a bit of male leaders, but it's good that there are some female leaders in there as well. Braden is asking, generally speaking, we don't take the issue seriously enough. We don't. I, I Braden is saying he disagrees
Pertains
with
to
the
what
gender gap
exactly?
argument. Braden, why do you disagree? Share your thoughts with us, sir. Share your thoughts with us. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's something that happens in our society, in the Caribbean society, like right now. I don't know what it looks like. Um, okay. But clearly it's something that is still happening to this day. But yeah, Greg, you can let us know what are your thoughts on that. Now we just want to go back to management and how how management actually affects the work environment that we're in. Now we use the term a lot, putting square pegs in round holes. So is it that you're just choosing persons who are capable of managing the stress of the process and not being able to actually deal with the persons in that workplace. Um, so what would be your take on that, Tiana?
Um, okay, just to be clear, this is in terms of, as you said, management choosing, like, I guess supervisors, or that's what you meant?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I can see it happening, I guess, because sometimes people say you don't want nobody that soft, handling, the employees or whatever. But the problem with that is not that, you know, that you, I guess it all boils down to your leadership style. It doesn't, you don't have to address someone in a uncouth or wrong way to I get, to get where you want in the organization, sorry. So I guess it all depends on attitude and how you address people. Yes, you can be upfront, but learn how to communicate it effectively and learn how to, you know, speak it that a lot may understand that probably don't.
mm, okay. Sharon was saying, not discounting the gender wage gap, but a lot of those stats are representative of the jobs that each gender has, which brings up another issue. That's
Mm-hmm.
actually. So she was saying, for example, men taking the technical jobs versus women have jobs of caretakers, which is generalized.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Um, that's true, but I guess the question is, are the women in the technical jobs being paid the same amount as the men in technical jobs? Um, but yeah, and we're in a COVID environment now, so I think a lot of persons have said because they're working from home, they don't work in a toxic work environment. So we have a lot of people who actually don't want to go back into work because they experienced that a lot at work. And then we've had persons who have said that they still experience being in an unhealthy work environment, even working from home. And I found that to be very interesting. Um, So yeah, so you guys in the comments, you can let us know what do you prefer? You prefer to work from home, or do you prefer to actually go in to the office? So we're going to talk about some the effects of the actual unhealthy working environment. So we've spoken about the low morale, the forming of cliques and gossip and different rumors, reduced productivity, the narcissistic leadership, and a high percentage of errors and mistakes coming from employees and high employee turnover. Now this is a huge one because the high turnover is so stressful for both the employer and the employees who haven't left the job yet because they didn't have to take on the extra workload plus train persons that actually come on to the new job. So when persons are experiencing that unhealthy work environment and they decide to leave, then you become significantly unstaffed, and then a lot of that stress goes towards the persons who are still a part of that company, that business, and there's a lot of pressure on them, and that affects them so much psychologically. So Sophie, coming from the psychological perspective of that overload, what do you think persons can do to balance it out and still be productive?
Oof. Personally, for me, I feel like having okay, yes, you have to work, you have to, do your deadlines, do your commitments and what's not. But I feel like, sometimes there are people who like would work and because they're so like deadline oriented, they would like say job ends at 5 and 8 o'clock they're still in the office trying to get in something, like I would say making sure that you build healthy boundaries in the workplace for yourself, making sure that you have outlets so that it's not like it's just work, work, work at home. At least there's a way for you to relax yourself. It is a way that you say, okay, my lunch hour is 12 to 1, and I'm taking that lunch hour and I'm, going to get outside of the office itself. If it's just to sit in your car or whatever the case, just find ways to be able to give yourself healthy boundaries and break so it's not a case where you are constantly having like a mind taxing situation going on. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned the lunch hours. Go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
No, I was saying I agree totally with Sophie. I guess it all depends on to managing your time too. So
Mm-hmm.
just prioritizing your time, say from this time to this time is work, then from whenever time is, sit down, really reflect on the day, do something that you love to do, don't stress out yourself for work and not take care of your mental health. Just make yourself happy in that time that you allotted for yourself to, just wind down and,
It's true.
enjoy the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. You definitely have to do what you can to remain sane. Yeah, and that means take your lunch hour. You allotted the lunch hour, take
Take
the lunch. We have employee sickness, and we must remember that our mental health affects our physical health. It's a real thing. And yeah, so the toxic work environments can lead to employee burnout, fatigue, all kind of different illnesses that come from the levels of stress, right? And that really wreaks havoc in our bodies. So you would realize that people start calling sick more often, and that's definitely a sign that your environment is not conducive to anything. So that is definitely an effect of that. And we spoke about it earlier about the employees being afraid to approach management about anything. So persons might get concerned that they might look incompetent to their leaders, and that's not something that any employee wants. So then there's that lack of communication and that strained relationship between the employee and the employer. Sharon is saying going into the office, there are physical and environmental differences between work and home. But when you work from home, it can be hard to make some associations. It's true.
Mhm.
There have been times I I I think I enjoy both equally. I like working from home and I like going into the office. Yeah, as Asha was saying, a mix of both. Yeah. Um. So yeah, and we have, we've spoken about how it could affect our mental health, and when we realize how many persons actually suffer with mental health, then we would realize why it is important to keep the morale up in the workplace. Because I mean, there's so much, but like literally, approximately over 200 million people suffer from depression and anxiety, and um, like this happens a lot in the workplace. What happens in the workplace is really impacts your mental health, how you interact with your friends, how you interact with your family. Because if you don't think you're doing a good job at work, if you don't think you're being productive, or you don't think you're going to get further in your professional life, and you can't support, because it goes into your financial of everything. You can't support your family. You're afraid of your job security and you not be secured. So it has a very deep impact, and not just not just psychologically no anymore, but also on the economy. Because again, the poor mental health would increase the number of sick days people take, the high turnover, and employees will not perform in their roles effectively. So that's just more of the reason why we need to build morale and make sure that relationship is good between the managers and the employees and the co-workers themselves. Needless to say, there are going to be a couple of people you can't get along with so well, but overall, you should be able to approach persons with related problems easily and get things resolved, because you have to realize you're working towards one goal. This is a company you're working for, and it's not just not it's not a social group. Yeah,
With that being said, Glenn, sorry to interject, but
no problem.
do you think as though it is HR's job to intervene when these things happen? Because obviously they are going to see that you are calling out a law or taking sick leave. Do you think that they have um a job in terms of finding new ways of probably diving into the mental health situation in the workplace?
Hmm. No, I for me, it always goes back to having because your team is going to be mixed with different people who they're not managers, but they should know how to manage themselves. And I believe every organization should have something set up, some program set up to ensure that employees, whether it's HR or just management level itself, to make sure there's something there to monitor how departments are functioning on not just a process wise, but how the morale in the department is, how everyone is feeling mentally, and checking in with that department. I believe if that was something that was practiced more than just work, process, reports, then we would definitely see a change in how a person's mental health would be affected in the workplace. I don't know if Sophie wants to add to that.
I agree with you. I feel like every workplace should have a space for people that, because as you said, different people work in an environment. You don't know what we're coming in with. As much as cancer is a sickness, depression is. As much
Mm,
as arthritis is a sickness, anxiety is. So it's important that people that suffer with mental health are being taken care of in the workplace, in a sense that they feel comfortable that to say, listen, boss, I need a mental health day, or whoever his supervisor is, and it should not
Right.
be something that they can't have. It should be something that is easily accessible. I think that is so important, especially in this time of COVID. That is so important. It is so, so,
It
so
is.
important.
It is. And the reason the reason the companies that exist and the businesses that exist is to deliver something to customers or clients. And how can we want to deliver the best towards our clients and customers, but yet within the business, within the organization, company, it's the opposite. Like everything just basically sucks on when it comes to morale and management. Like there's no communication. There's a lot of gossiping, a lot of workplace politics, a lot of favoritism, all these negative things. So if all of this is happening within the organization, then how are we really going to present our best selves towards our clients and get the business that we need? So I believe we really should apply that same aggression and ambition towards wanting to satisfy our customers into wanting to satisfy our co-workers and our employees. So that's something I definitely believe should be taken seriously, to be quite honest. But
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah. So we're gonna move in more to the positive side of things, and that's basically how to manage within an unhealthy work environment. Because you might not be able to change it entirely, but you can manage, you can get through it, and you can find so many different coping mechanisms. So for me, the first thing is to find other co-workers, who share similar values and morals, right? Because when you find those persons, they help you get through the day better. They help you to not feel as much as miserable and not as pressured. We can have different have little laughs, have little jokes, have little conversations. You can just call them up, and you can vent. If you have that trusting relationship, you can vent to them about a couple of things, but still be careful. But
Mm.
yeah, like find those persons within the organization who you can trust and develop a relationship with them, because that's what life is all about, developing the relationships with persons. So yeah, and another thing is to like, focus on your work. The more you focus on your work, you're just gonna block out everything else around you. Just be very innovative. Yes, it can be a lot of it could be very annoying if persons are doing the opposite, focusing on people and issues and what you do wrong instead of focusing on the work, right? But when you focus on your work, when you tune in on your work and you understand what you're doing, your productivity, and when your productivity increases and the right people recognize what you're doing, you could be over that department, you could be over that position or that company in no time. So focus on your work is an important thing that I would suggest that persons do. Sophie and Tiana, do y'all have anything to add? Yeah?
I agree with you. It is. Sorry, repeat the question again. My mind just went blank.
Right. So how to manage in an unhealthy working
Right, there
environment.
we go. All right. As you said, it's very important to build relationships in the work environment. That's what I was trying to remember. It's very important to have that. Um, it's harder for you to decide, am I coming in here and trying not to make friends or trying not to, it's harder to do that than you just trying to naturally make. Nobody's saying that the person in your work has to be your best friend. Come on. We know how things can be, and trust is a thing that can be very wavering at times. But
Yeah.
having that and having people that they relate to it, because being able to be comfortable with somebody enough that you can make jokes with each other, that helps. It really helps, especially if you're in an environment where it's like totally stressful and both of y'all stressed. If y'all able to cheer each other up, that helps so much. So I
Yeah.
think that is something that is, very important. As you said, focus on your work. You don't get paid to worry about. I mean, obviously, it's your job and you have to get certain things done, but you don't get paid to do the gossiping. You don't get paid to, be rude or anything like that. You get paid to do your job, and that's it. So focus
Mhm.
on your job, and yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would just suggest, like, just stay true to you. You
Mm-hmm.
alone know who you are inside. You alone know your potential, and you might not see it in the midst of being stressed out, but there are other people around you that may be inspired by you. May
Mm-hmm.
be inspired by your work ethic and how you go about things. So just continue doing you, because, like, you're an inspiration to somebody regardless of how down we may think about ourselves in that space of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I would add to is learn as much as you can from who you can.
Mm.
Um, you always the reason you're at work is to do your job, right? And you want to know your job well inside. Oh, anybody asks you any question, you don't want to be saying I don't know, right? So learn as much as you can from who you can, even if it's not about your current role. Just learn, just get knowledge, make yourself marketable, and just progress throughout the company. So that's something that I strongly advise. Just learn, just get knowledge, just get wisdom, and a couple things that managers could do to boost morale. And you can see them all over the internet. So, Brad was actually saying, I believe a lot of individuals who are in managerial positions lack basic management skills. It's true,
Very
and
true.
companies like to host management courses and development managers and how to. You can't teach someone how to be a people person if there's not in their personality.
Exactly.
If you have a manager who doesn't like interacting with people, you can't force them to interact with people by having a course. So
Mm-hmm.
you could inspire somebody, sure, but if that love and that care is not built in that person, if they don't really care for their team, then it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. So you're just basically wasting money. But yeah, um, celebrate your staff birthdays, even if it's not something that comes to your manager. Any co-worker could decide or take it upon themselves to say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's celebrate our birthdays. Get everybody birthdays, write them down, start celebrating them. Order a cake for somebody, do something, get some fish cakes, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like stuff like that, planning staff outings, recognizing a staff member of the month, creating a suggestion box, stuff like that can help boost the morale within the workplace.
Yeah.
So yeah, like and there's so much you can learn, there's so much you could do to build that morale. Right in the same micromanagement is not management. It's not. It really is not.
Mm-hmm.
It
No.
really is not.
And just to add to there, do you have people who are in manager positions who don't need to be there? It's not like you don't have the qualifications. You know, people have qualifications that feel they should have the job. And
Yeah.
it's like it's more than just having qualifications. As you said, if you can't be a people's person, if you can't interact with people, if you can't learn how to be able to tell somebody they're doing something wrong without feeling like you're screaming at them or being rude towards
Mm.
them, like that's probably not the job for you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You just stay in your lane, and that who could really be the manager, be a manager. So yeah.
Hmm.
And that's another thing too. But yeah, moving on.
You gotta keep your job.
I keep my job. I gotta keep my job. But I mean, yeah. So encouraging employees is something that you need to do. And don't mind that I laughing. I have great managers. I have a great director. I love my superiors a lot. Right? Thankful for them. They're God sent. Um, so yeah. So it's very important to boost that morale to make sure that your employees or in good spirits and that they're producing, because that's the whole point of being at work, to be able to produce, to be able to be productive. And if you
Mhm.
don't have that, um, happening, then you're gonna have a lot of issues, and there might be situations where the co-workers, the workers might be just doing the work, but nobody's talking. There's no relationship. If anything happens, it's a mess. They just know how to do the day to day, but there's nothing there. There's no substance within the company and or the department. And like it's just dead. And I've heard someone say that they literally cried every day before coming to work or when they woke up and realized they had to go into work. Now I can't imagine waking up, realizing, okay, I have to go to this building and crying about it. That would mean that work environment is terrible. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, that is a serious thing. So we have to realize that these are real things that people deal with. There are people who struggle, well, pre-COVID, to get up on a morning to actually go into the office and to deal with persons. And know that a lot of us are working from home still. To just take that time to reflect on what was happening in the office. If you do have to go back in the office at some point in time, to look and see how you can help contribute towards a better environment. No, it doesn't mean you have to go and become friends with everybody, but there's a lot that you can do, and you can just learn from the internet. There's a lot that you can do to bring a better relationship within your workplace. So yeah, I'm just gonna highlight a comment here from Brad. Sometimes micromanaging is needed. Interesting, but it depends on the individual you're managing. My take on it is if you have someone who's weak in an area, you as an elder should assist micromanage. Interesting, Brad. I'm not too sure how to feel, but I get what you're saying. Um, but I
I
guess
won't say micromanage, but I
yeah,
guess when he's saying
yeah,
the
I wouldn't say
assisting,
micromanage. Yeah, but the assistant is necessary because you don't want the employee to feel uncomfortable. You can't go to the manager. I mean, I would hate that I made a mistake or my manager realized I make a mistake and you did what? And just shout it out for everybody to hear. I would hate that. I would prefer my manager to come to me and say, okay, this is how you do this. Let's start from scratch. Let me show you. Right? So, and allow you to develop at kind of at your pace, still push you to be faster because at any day you're in a fast pace, in a fast moving environment. So you have to, keep on top of things.
mhm.
Um, yeah, very saying not necessarily micromanagement, but point taken. So yeah, and we're coming to the end of our discussion. So thank you everyone for joining. We're not going to go just yet. We'll be back very shortly. We're going to take a short break and come back and close. Welcome back, everyone, to season 2, episode 7 of Levy Chat. So we're actually going to wrap up now. I just want to thank everyone for joining. It was so great to have you as part of this discussion. And I mean, there's so much to take from tonight because at some point in time we're all going to be in the workforce if you're not already. So you have to know how to navigate where you're working and make sure that you create an environment. You literally have control of your environment. So you know, create the type of environment that you would want to work in, and that happens when you act, right? So don't sit down on everything that's happening. If you know other persons in your department, other persons in your company feel the same way about something, voice it. Because if you don't voice it, nothing, literally nothing is going to change. And you need things to change the um for coming after, or just if you just want the cloak to know that you changed something within the organization, fine. but we need change. We need to develop seriously and take the mental health of the employees seriously and our fellow co-workers. So if you know persons are struggling in a certain area, help them if you have the knowledge. Do what you know you can do to assist them. Don't be afraid to speak up. That's one of my main takeaways for tonight. Do not be afraid to speak up about
Mhm.
injustices you see in the workplace, whether or not you are permanent. Because I've been in some situations where I wanted to say something about something. I was like, Glenn, don't do it, don't do it. And I was just furious because I just believe like if no one says anything, nothing is going to change. And that I believe that's one of the main issues, right? But that's my main takeaway for tonight. So I'm just going to allow Sophie and Tiana to leave their takeaways. And we're going to close.
You want to go first, Dana?
I agree with everything Lane said. At the end of the day, is your mind is a powerful, powerful tool, and what you feed it, I guess you become. So you have to know what best works for you. And as you said, like don't feel as though there are other people around you who are not going through the same thing. They may not say it, but I guess once you see their actions, maybe like you may see somebody one day happy and then next minute they start just approach them and say, well, yo, um, what happened, Sarah? What's going on? Um, how can I help? These small measures I think helps a person um I guess become more mentally practical, I guess. So just reach out and just know that at the end of the day you're not alone. Um, just take care of yourself in any way possible.
Agreed. I agree with both of y'all. I would say number one, take care of your mental health. Number two, make sure you set healthy boundaries to make sure that you are not doing anything to compromise your mental health. Um, Make sure that you are communicating. Remember, you are not in it alone. You don't have to be in it alone. Nobody's trying to spill all your business, but at least communicate with others to create the healthy environment amongst your colleagues and yourself at least. Um, and yeah, be yourself. Do your work. You go work to do one thing. Do your job. Be yourself. There you have it.
Yep. Guys, thank you so much. It was so great to have you tonight. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you again. And guys, just know that season two is going to finish very shortly. So sad to say, but it is. And season three is going to be bigger and better. Let me tell you, can't wait. I cannot wait already. So yeah. So thank you guys for joining. Remember, you can go and rewatch this episode. You can still go and share it. Everyone who hasn't watched it now, you can share it with. You can go back and watch all the episodes from season two, all the episodes from season one. So make sure you subscribe. Tell others to subscribe. Check us out on Instagram as well at Levy Chat to stay posted. So we will see you guys next week on Levy Chat. Good night.